Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 The Players Championship. This is my pick show where I'm going to go through complete player analysis through the field. I'm going to give you my top 20 plays, even a few others. I've got some updates on the course and some other nuggets of information I want to share with you guys. So thank you for stopping by. Give me about 30 to 45 minutes and we'll get through all this information and help you get an edge on those DFS lineups that you'll be looking to put in, or still maybe some bet ideas. Okay, with that said, let's go talk some golf. But first, I always forget that I do have a giveaway going for the players. And what is it that I'm giving away? I'm going to be randomly selecting 3 winners to win $100 each. And all you need to do is click that like button, share this with anybody else that you think could use this information. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because I need you to tell me down in the YouTube comments below, who do you think is going to win this Players Championship? So real quick, summarize that. Click the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, tell me who you think is going to win. That gets you into this automated drawing that randomly will select 3 winners from that. And I will announce the winners tomorrow, probably a little later, but when I do my ownership projections, and anything else that I need to provide you, weather and all that kind of analysis. Okay, with that said, now let's go talk a little golf. So real quick, I've got some updates. Just saw the forecast that was put out, so I took some things from the Golf Channel I saw earlier this morning, and the weather looks pretty good. We're not going to have what we had last year, where there was definitely an advantage if you had an AM versus a PM flight that I see. There's going to be some changes in the winds during the tournament, but ultimately the wind looks, pretty benign, somewhere around the 12 to 10 mile an hour. There could be possibility rain. It looks like Friday night. And it looks like Monday, actually, there's going to be quite a bit of wind. And I just bring that up because maybe this change, maybe that wind shows up on Sunday. But we have to keep an eye on the forecast. Of course, they're off the Atlantic Ocean. And as we all know, weather changes on a dime. But at least the outlook right now, I'm not going to be using any of the AM, PM, tee times to try to figure out who I'll be selecting. That's not going to change my thought process at this point. And then they had this on the Golf Channel that I thought was kind of interesting. Most strokes gained at the Players since, it'll be the last 15 rounds played, I believe. And, the only person that we'd be curious out of this would be Justin Thomas, who has gained 1.63 strokes total. So that'd be off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting. Right now, he has the best record from that. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Well, let's go take a little deeper dive into that. And so using Fantasy National, what I did is I wanted to see who gained the most strokes on the par 3s, par 4s, par 5s, and then made the most birdies, and then bogey avoidance. So I weighted them all at 20, so they're equal, and clicked my rank, and what came up, and again, this is looking at the last 3 Players Championships, so you got to remember 2020 was not played, so this would have been 2022, 2021, and then 2019 was where this data would come from. And funny enough, Tommy Fleetwood comes up number 1. You got Webb Simpson, who's been in terrible form, but had a really nice, made the cut at the API and then had a really nice Sunday, as I mentioned in the preview show. You got John Rahm, JT that we just talked about. Doug Gim, for whatever reason, has showed up here the past 2 years. I think he's got like a T26 and then a 9th place finish. You got Jason Day, past champion, Joel Damon, Brian Harmon, Keegan Bradley, Victor Hovland, who only has 6 rounds, so that's also key. Doug Gim has two full tournaments, 8 rounds. You got Daniel Berger, who is not in the tournament. Tiger Woods not in the tournament. But Adam Scott, Corey Connors, Seamus Power, again, that's only 8 rounds, so 2 tournaments, and then Will Z. So that's your top, kind of 14 because you got to remove Berger and Woods, but top 14 guys who have scored well here, but mostly looking at strokes gained against the par 3s, par 4s, and par 5s, birdies, and bogey avoidance. Again, it was just something, since we were total strokes gained, I was just kind of curious if we looked at it a different way. And then another thing that I was kind of interested in is, I kind of believe course knowledge is definitely a bonus at TPC Sawgrass. And there's quite a few first-timers in the field. I think around 25 to be, if I gave you a number, 25 to 30. But what I was curious about is who's a first-timer but actually is local to the area. So grew up on Florida grasses, right, Bermuda, comfortable. And then even take it a step further, who actually lives in Ponte Vedra and belongs to TPC Sawgrass and plays there quite a bit. And the 3 guys that are first-timers, that do have good course knowledge would be Aaron Rai, Nicolas Chavaria, and Mateus Schwab. And of course, Nicolas Chavaria just won the Puerto Rico Open, shooting 21 under, outdueling my Akshay Bhatia, who made a run on Sunday. Mateus Schwab, you can kind of see where they fit in. Not the greatest from a modeling perspective. Even Nicolas, right? I mean, he's had I don't know, on the actual PGA Tour, not the alternate event, a little suspicious, but the guy can putt, at least. 3-putt avoidance is very good. But Aaron Rai, I would say, out of all those guys, would be the one I'd be interested in playing that is literally a member of TPC Sawgrass. And then you got the Eric Coles, Svensson, Tyson Alexander, and Colin Tarrant, who all live in Florida. Svensson lives in Palm Beach, right by where, of course, they just played the Arnold Palmer. And, should be very comfortable with the grasses. And, so I guess where I'm going with all that, if you are looking, as you see, all these guys are 6,500 and below, well, 6,600 and below, and you're looking for kind of a differentiation play to fill out, like if you have a little heavier DFS lineup up top, right? You got a lot of the 10,000, guys, or 11,000, whatever, how the bill works. That's an idea for you to, maybe play someone that, again, plays here a ton, comfortable with the course, comfortable with the grass. Doesn't mean they're going to have a great tournament. No, but if they are a first timer, they're not really a first timer because they played this course quite a bit. That was what I was getting to out of all that. Okay, with that said, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Let's do a little bit of player analysis, and then I'll jump back out and we'll wrap up with my top 20 picks. Okay, so I've jumped over into fantasynational.com, and as always, my little plug for them is if you are putting any kind of money into DFS or betting, you should be doing some of your own analysis. Of course, I show you quite a bit, but there's probably things after I show you that you would like to dive deeper in. Go check these guys out. All right. You've got, we're going to be using DraftKings pricing, but of course, if you decide to play on FanDuel or whatever, feel free. Of course, you can use these picks. The pricing might be a little bit different. I've already done, as usual, a bunch of analysis on my own, do comparable courses, kind of slimming us down. And I've actually landed on 26 guys. Now, the reason why I got 26 is I'm going to give you my favorite 20. But there are some other guys that I think you could be very interested in. So that's where the field actually ended up. My player pool, 26 players. And what you got here is, if you've never seen this before, this is like what I call the mini model. It's a dashboard that is going to show you the stroke gain data that I think is most pertinent to what I'm looking for in a player. Also, we're looking at putting, and you've got the putting splits right here. So past Palm, POA, Bermuda, Bent. And then if I hold it over that, you can see they gain, on average, over 24 rounds on Bermuda. They gain a stroke against the field. And then maybe a little more interesting, I don't know, depending if you're the kind of the casual DFS person, hey, how these guys done over the past 5 tournaments? So recent results, and then, of course, historical information, how they done at this exact event. So tournament history. All right, so with all that said, as I mentioned, I already did a lot of pre-analysis, kind of whittled it down, and ended up with, like I said, a player pool of 26 that I'm going to try to dive through this kind of quick. So right off the bat, if we do this, kind of by the salary, you've got 2 guys in the 11,000 range, and then you've got 2 guys at the 10,000. So I'm going to lump all 4 of those together. And for me, I'm not saying I'm not going to use any of these, Rahm or Rory, but the overwhelming of my builds, I'm actually going to be using Scotty Scheffler. And there's a few reasons. Okay, so if you just look at Rahm, of course, we've seen he's had issues with the driver. If he aims it down the left side and it does not fade back, like where he's been having struggles, he's going to be in the water quite a bit on this course, as we just saw at the Arnold Palmer. That's part of it. So you can see the fairways gained. Oh, and what I'm looking at also, this data is the last 24 rounds. So the last 6 tournaments they played. That is including, of course, the Arnold Palmer. And I've got no filters turned on over here. So I'm not, this data is not being skewed by only, Bermuda greens or whatever. I've already done all of that. You can see, though, from a putting perspective, he does his bet where he gains the most over the last 24 rounds is on Bermuda. And, of course, Rahm has just been destroying it, right? I mean, 5 out of his last 9 tournaments he's won worldwide, 3 PGA events he's won already this year. And if you look at his history, I don't think it's great at this course. I think this is even a little more interesting. Last year he had a T55, and he did have an AM draw, so I checked that out. I do have the AM PM draws from last year because, I think there was an advantage. Well, there clearly was an advantage. I talked about that in the preview show where, I think it was 20-some players made it through the PM versus like 40 for the AM, or something like that. So that's my thoughts on Rahm. That is, why I'm, not going to be building as much with him. And then Rory, you can kind of see too. I mean, we've been seeing this for a while already. Won in December, the Dubai against, beat Patrick Reed. Pretty good field. But since then, it hasn't been the greatest, right? I mean, the Genesis and the Waste Management, not the best. You can see, of course, the Tour Championship was back in August. And then, the CJ Cup was in the fall. And then the Dubai is not on there. But the guy's been playing great, right? I mean, you're talking about the top, you're picking between the guys that have been battling back and forth to be world number one. Of course, he is a past champion in 2019, but he's also got a couple missed cuts. Last year, he had a T33, but if I remember correctly, he did come out of the PM draw, so the harder draw. So, you kind of take that with what you like. I'm not saying Rory could not be great here, but I think what it came down to me was that proximity 125 to 150. His wedges in, so they have just not been where I would like to see them. His putting has improved. You can see not the greatest, you can see the splits here. Bermuda has not been the best. Bent is where he's actually done a little better, but it's not even about that. I think the putter has improved, especially, over the last, 6 months or so. But a little bit is he's had, like Rahm, some struggles hitting fairways, and I don't need his distance. I need his accuracy. And so with that, the wedges and the accuracy off the tee, if I got to make a decision between the top four guys, which includes Xander in it, the guy that I'm landing on is Scotty. Even though Scotty's record here is not good. And I believe Scotty did also have a PM draw. So the T55, I mean, and in the cut there, and as you probably heard, and I'm going to tell you guys, literally somebody can come out and win this tournament this year and then come out easily and miss the cut the next. So it's a very volatile thing. Either they have it or they don't. So you got to go with the person that you feel like they've been playing the best golf and the kind of golf that you want. And so for me, Scotty's still been there, even though, he's got the win on Bermuda. And that was another thing I think, let's go take a look at this real quick. So even though overall you can see, the last, rolling 12 months, he's typically the putter has been a bit of a struggle, but he did just gain at Waste Management, gained 4 strokes putting on Bermuda. I lost a stroke here recently. And I think when I did this, if I remember right, some of his top performances, so twice he's won the Waste Management and gained strokes there putting. And it's funny how they have different names. The WMPO versus the that was 2021. That's 2022, 2023. RSM, of course, that's Bermuda. I like that for a comparable course. Sanderson Farms, the Arnold Palmer, these 2 PGAs. So the most recent, so that's 2021. Let me see this one. That's Kiowa. And then, of course, before that would have been, I can't think of the name. It was, I want to say TPC Southwind, but that was not correct. It was something like that. Doesn't matter where they played it last year. He did miss the cut, but still it was Bermuda. And I think, I'd have to go look. I did. But long story short, for me, I'm going with Scotty Scheffler. That's my guy. He hits the fade. It's been consistent. Fairways gained. It's not, great, but, it's top, third out of this field, 144 players. So I'm going to go with Scotty. And then, of course, Xander had a better showing at the Arnold Palmer, but his game for me has been a little off kilter. If you look again, this is pulling the last 6 tournaments he's played, a lot of red. And again, we're not on POA, we're on Bermuda. And you can see, a lot of miscuts. And again, I don't remember if he had PM or AM. I could go look real quick. Yeah, and so real quick, I just looked. Xander did have a PM flight. So, but again, he had 2 cuts before that. So again, out of the top 4 guys, Scotty would be the guy that I'll do most of my bills with. And, will I sprinkle in maybe a little Rahm, little Rory? I think I'd actually probably play a little more Rory than I would Rahm. So I guess it'd be, my number 1, and then it'd be 1A, 1B, and 1C. But it'll be mostly Scotty Scheffler, because kind of how I ended up is a lot of guys, more in the 9s and the 8s. So now to Max Homa. Max, his irons have been great. And really my lean, if you heard the preview show, is irons around the green and putting. And then just guys that hit the fairway. Max also hits a fade. You can see he's been number 1 in approach over the past 6 tournaments. Great ball striking around the green's pretty good, and the putting, even though he gains mostly, it shows a stroke on POA, he is still positive on Bermuda. He's got a win at the Farmers, a T3 at the Century Tournament of Champions. Not the greatest showing at the Waste Management, but a good showing at the Genesis. And then again, he just made nothing at the Arnold Palmer. We can go take a look at that real quick. So you can see he, struck the ball great. I mean, he gained 8 strokes on approach, great off the tee, lost a little bit around the green and lost 3 strokes with the putter, which is pretty rare for Max. You can see before that gained 11 at the Genesis, 2 at Waste Management, almost, 4.5. And yeah, so I like Max, and I'm a little bit of the brand. I, of course, am a big fan of him. So either way, I'm playing my guys, and that's just the way that's going to be. But I mean, he's also, you see, ranked 3rd in the model. Again, look at the last 24 rounds of golf. But a lot of his, I like his game for this. Moving down, Patrick Cantlay, he just had a bad run here, and also his game, it is making a little bit of an uptick. Right, he had that miscut at the Waste Management, but then showed up at the Genesis and a good showing at the Arnold Palmer. So I feel like his game is trending up. I would almost probably play Cantlay over probably a Rory or Rahm for me, or Xander at least. But right now he's not making my player pool because I'm going probably a little off the cuff. And now, even though the model rank says 1, right, Colin has struggled as far as I'm concerned a little bit since the Tournament of Champions, right? We know he had fell back. I mean, he had a good showing at the Farmers, but he missed the cut at the Waste Management, then showed up at the Genesis, and then just missed the cut at the Arnold Palmer. And we can go take a look at that. A lot of that, if I remember correctly, was due a bit to the putter. The irons didn't fire as well, but typically we all know he's one of the better iron players on tour. And again, that's the one thing that I want. I'm still going to lean to what's your legacy? What do you typically do? Even though maybe you haven't had the greatest recent iron play, this course should fit him like a glove. And of course, not the greatest results. Again, he had that crazy PM draw. If I remember right, they literally teed off pretty late on the evening and then literally came out. I think they started on 17 with crazy wins. I mean, it was like Brooks, him, and I can't think of the other person, and it wasn't good. But Colin's been playing great golf, and we know this course I think is a perfect fit for him. You can see the putter will be the one that will hold us back. If the putter goes, watch out for Colin. Of course, JT, past champion, a little better, same thing. The putter struggled at Arnold Palmer. He's been struggling with the putter. We can go take a look at that. He lost about a half stroke. Funny enough, on POA, he did well. Lost a little tiny bit against Waste Management. Lost, a lot at the CJ Cup and then the Century Tournament of Champions. But also, again, top 3 in iron player. And then, of course, his short game. Everything he brings, he's a past champion. You can see he's made the cut the last 5 years. And if I remember right, he had the PM draw. He was one of the guys that actually was in contention coming out of the PM draw. So, good on the course, has the skill set that I want. And if the putter works again, then away we go. Tony Finau, this course, just, I don't think, he hasn't had success on it. Doesn't mean, of course, Tony's been, had a bunch of wins in the fall. This could be his time. It could easily happen. You can see ranks number 4 in my model. But I've got to make some decisions. And so Tony would be the guy out. And then Sungjae Im, again, if you kind of see recent form, and also even a little bit course history, and also his putter has been pretty weak. Now, again, an amazing ball striker. Not the greatest with the irons lately. So again, if you look at 67th and 70th, I mean, typically we think of Sungjae, it's like a robot, right? He just hits the fairway with his little fade, and it's typically really good with the long approach shots, but which I don't think are as necessary here. Yes, you need to be a ball striker, but I feel like you're not hitting a lot of those 200 pluses in. And again, you can see Bermuda, even though, funny enough, where I've felt like I've seen him do some of his better work is on Bermuda, it's just been a bit of a struggle. So again, I got to make some decisions. And, you could make an argument with Victor. And again, this is a little bit on brand that, Victor has probably a little better. If you take the 2, he had a T9 last year, but a miscut. And again, you can see that volatility of, a top 20 and then a miscut or a T9. But, I'm waiting for Victor to kind of just get through. I mean, a good showing at the Arnold Palmer. Couple bad shots, and the putter really didn't do. Let's go take a look at the putter for the Arnold Palmer. What happened? Well, that's crazy. I wouldn't even guess that he gained, but he gained a stroke. It felt like it was really bad, but off the tee was amazing. Irons were amazing. We all know they were around the green is typically where he can struggle. Even though I remember him chipping one out of the sand, I believe on Saturday for a birdie. He will do that. I mean, he'll have some great chips and chip in, but I have no problems. I'd rather, for me, play Victor over Sun JM and maybe some similar skill sets. I think Victor's a better ball striker, but you can definitely sort of past 6 rounds. He definitely, or the last 6 tournaments, he has been. But again, around the green versus, Sun JM, there is quite a bit of difference. The putter looks pretty similar to both. So you can kind of go choose your poison on that one. And then I'm also going to go to Will Z. Of course, he's played here twice, a 21st and a T26. And, his game, I feel like, keeps upticking and upticking, typically in very hard tournaments. Watch out. And he's got the skill set again. Those inside 5-footers, what I kind of noticed was a lot of the team I've kind of been putting together is like Team No Putt, which we have seen, guys that, typically don't putt that well win here. So I'm not saying that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, we just saw Cam Smith win last year, who gained 11 strokes on these greens and, totally goes against that theory. But if you go back to previous winners, there is some that have not been the greatest putter and won this thing. Not saying that's why I'm going with Will Z. It's more of just I like his game, and from an iron approach, he's elite. So back to the irons, he's pretty decent around the green, and then right, I mean his win at the FedEx St. Jude TPC Southland, I think is a great comp course. Is also Bermuda, he gained 2.5. So let's take a look. Just for my, I didn't really look at this, but funny enough, Poa's gained the most strokes. This would be Southern Hills. That was what I was looking at. Is Bermuda. So again, it would be a second. So I mean, he has had good showings on Bermuda. Jordan Spieth, even though he's showing fairways gain, I'm not worried about the ball striking, man. It's the putting. Of course, he's also kind of struggled here. I think his best showing was, 2014, his first time here. And then since then has not been great. So, again, Jordan Spieth, I've kind of been a little off, and I'm going to stay there. You can see fairways gained over his past, 6 tournaments have been a little rough, but it's not even that. It's more of just that under 10-foot putt. I mean, but, you could make the same argument for Will Z. So for me, I'm just going to go with my guys over that. Fitzpatrick, actually, honestly, this event should be a pretty good fit for his game. You can see he's gained the most on Bermuda over the last, 24 rounds. He's got his best showing, at least in my viewpoint, is a T9. And he's kind of had a mixed bag, right? He had the neck issue, but I think that's over. I haven't really heard anything else about that. But the irons have been, not the greatest. And the ball striking, around the green, on the putter is typically his weapon. He has gained, distance off the tee, but I don't need that. I need fairways. Not saying he can't hit fairways, but again, everything I see, just, I'm going to kind of go in a different direction. But honestly, you can make, again, a strong argument for Fitzy. Cam Young, right? I've been waiting for that guy. He almost kind of made me nervous at the Arnold Palmer, and of course thought he had showed up at the Genesis. But long story short, the putter has been still a fiasco for that guy. And I guess maybe a little biased that I like him on POA, but could he do something here? Yeah, he could, but not the course that I would really pick for Cam Young, to be honest. I actually would go to a Hideki. Of course, he's had a T7, a T8. His pricing is pretty comfortable, and of course his betting now is 80, 90 to 1, maybe even like a better top 10 bet kind of thing. I will play some Hideki. I mean, the guy is sneaky around the green. People don't give him the credit because of the putter. But I also mentioned the year that they, canceled in 2020, he was 9 under in the first. And one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about weather, so I mentioned that the skies opened up and it rained a bunch after the Arnold Palmer. I guess they got about 2 inches of rain in February at TPC Sawgrass. So it is playing soft right now, but they do have sub air. It's not going to shock me if they don't see the course performing the way they want, that they could turn the sub air on those greens and dry them out a bit like they can do at Augusta. So, right now, though, I'm just telling you what I've heard, a little bit of information so far about the course and how it's playing is, it's gettable right now, but I have a feeling by the time that it all shakes out that the rough will be, maybe a little thicker, and they'll get those sub airs going to get those greens dried out and being firm. So, okay, moving along. I like Terrell Hatton. Again, just a really good iron play. That putter, typically Bermuda's where he does his damage. And you can see that shows that the Arnold Palmer and the weights management, of course, he won the Arnold Palmer before. Had a T13 here last year, but also has some miscuts. And, the thing that makes me nervous with Terrell Hatton, I do believe, even though they say, oh, he can, get very aggravated and then forget about it. I don't know if I believe that much. I believe anyone that gets super frustrated, it can carry over to the next hole. So I do get a little nervous. You can see around the green isn't the greatest, but everything else he's been firing on. And again, the putter. So I'm going to go with T Hat. Shane Lowry, I'm kind of thinking maybe his ownership might get a little lower because of what he did at the Arnold Palmer, but he typically just struggles there. But you can see at a T13 here last year in 8th, I think about the hole-in-one he had on 17. I believe that was last year. Maybe that skews me a little. You see, typically, though, I mean, I know he had a great run in Florida last year, so I'm not worried about the splits. And so I'm going to go with Shane Lowry and hope that the soft hands, he hits that, kind of butter fade drive, very accurate, and that the putter actually comes through. Let's go take a look. I feel like every time I saw that guy putting at Arnold Palmer, he missed a ton. So there you go. So that's where statistics lie, right? I mean, he actually gained with the putter supposedly, but lost in every other category. But then just at the Honda, he gained everywhere. So maybe I'm thinking about the Honda, but did not gain with the putter. But let's go see where he's had some of his best showings. So let's see here. I'm not really, that's a bit ago. Funny enough, the players way back in 2018, he gained 6 strokes with the putter, but did nothing else. The Wyndham, Bermuda, the Honda, he gained 4 strokes. RBC Heritage, right? I mean, that's another Pete Dye course. He seems like he's done very well on Pete Dye courses. Okay, so moving down the board, Tom Kim, another one. You're going to see, like I said, I kind of got a lot of these guys in the low 8s. Hence, I kind of trying to make it where I didn't pick a lot of guys in the uppers, kind of filling out more in the lowers. But Tom Kim, even though he's a first timer here, he was ranked number 1 from all modeling perspectives, right? He won both of his events on Bermuda greens. Some people say that the Wyndham has a crossover. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that could be a quinky dink. But of course, like I said, he's a first timer. So if you're looking for a reason, also recent form has not been the greatest. Let's go take a look at Tom Kim. I think it's been a bit on the putter, but the one thing he does, he hits fairways, and the guy's typically pretty good with the irons. He has lost, the last 5 tournaments. I mean, he lost a ton at the Sony, and but gained at Waste Management. But man, it struggled off the tee and stuff. So kind of a mixed bag. So you could make an argument not to play Tom Kim, but I just think his game should work here. And then moving along, Jason Day, right, of course, past champion here I mentioned. He's had a great record. Also great recent form. So with all that said, I'm kind of just keep on, thinking of Jason Day. I don't think he's going to win this, but I think he could definitely top 10. So I'm on Dave. Fleetwood just had an amazing record here. Everything for the price, I think he's a pretty good value. I think he kind of gets lost, and also recent form has been okay. But he does get on Bermuda. Typically, that's where he hurts, is the putter can be his nemesis, but where he's had his shots to win, of course, was the Honda PGA National, which I think is a great comp course. So I'm a fan of Tommy. Of course, we just saw Chris Kirk win the Honda. The guy does really well, typically in the Florida swing. Now, you could make an argument that, his past history here is not the greatest. I mean, a lot of made cuts. That's pretty good. But, a third at the Sony and the Honda, both good comparable courses. And the guy's playing great golf. And you can see everything here says he should do well. And then I got to kind of skip over my buddy Burns. You can see that he's just been so out of form now. I think if you're trying to get differentiation, will I put a lineup in with him? I probably will have to, because if he does all of a sudden top 5 or somehow pull this thing out, but I mean, he's been so off. We know Bermuda Burns, shows here typically still gains with the putter. The irons have been really off. Last year, I think it was going into Sunday morning. I think he was 8 under. I mean, he had a chance to do something, kind of fell back on Sunday, but it hurts. I mean, he's a guy that I typically always play. I think I even picked him for the Arnold Palmer. That came back and kind of bit me. But, he's going to his course where he's got back-to-back wins at Valspar, so maybe we wait to play him there. But, to win a Million Maker, he would be someone, as you see, projected ownership is going to be really low. Matt McNeely, no thanks. A couple of WDs. I don't even know what's going on. I think it was the shoulder, if I remember right, is why he had to pull out. So he's been dealing with something, so I no way I'm going near that. And also, even when he was still making cuts, like the Farmers and the Sony, he was doing it all. Let's go look. He was doing it all with a putter, gaining crazy 10 strokes. So here you go, right? I mean, the CJ Cup, losing, ball striking, but gaining with the putter. Again, losing with ball striking to Shriners, went nuts with the putter. Yeah, it just has not been what I'm looking for. So, no, thank you. Justin Rose just won the course at Pebble Beach. Pretty weak field, but, you know, has some past showings here. I mean, his game, funny enough, kind of also would make a little bit of sense here. I mean, he does gain on Bermuda. Just, I don't know. I can't do it. Maybe again, if I'm putting a little bit of a contrarian, build, he might go in there. Adam Scott, I think I bet him. I think he's 100 to 1. Of course, he's won here. It's been a long time, but he did win here. What was that, 2009 or something like that? Been playing better golf. What's weird is Adam Scott's putter has actually been working, and then all of a sudden his irons have kind of fallen back. So the putter's been kind of working. Irons, he's hitting fairways again. It has been for a little bit. Finally got a driver that he's happy with. So I don't have a problem playing him. Again, I'll have him in a build or two. I'm not sure how many lineups I'm putting together yet, but yeah. Again, this is talking about GPP, large field events. Sahith, I'm just terrified of the fairway thing. That's the big thing. I mean, the guy can gain strokes on Bermuda. You see that. Has played here once, missed a cut. Irons have been pretty good. I mean, I don't have a problem with Sahith. It just comes down to what guys you want to put together. But, what makes me nervous, and probably because I rostered him, I don't know, in a showdown, I forgot. I don't know if it was Arnold Palmer or the Genesis. It doesn't matter. It was one of the most recent events, and a guy literally did not hit a fairway for like 18 holes. It was like all over the map. But the guy's a great scrambler, so he has no issues of attacking because he knows he can scramble. So I don't know. Again, I have to sit there and think about it. Does he get a lineup? Billy Horschel, even though of course he's a local, lives in Ponte Vedra, belongs to Sawgrass, all that. But the guy, funny enough, he's not had a good record here, and that right now he's fighting a swing changes. So you probably heard he implemented swing changes and then kind of scrapped it, but you can see it's messing with him, and I'm terrified to play him, so I can't go there. Siwoo Kim, I mean, very volatile as we all know, right? A past champion here. He's a Pete Dye specialist. So when you go to a Pete Dye course, he just won the American Express. Well, maybe I'm wrong. What did he win? Wasn't the Amex? I know he won the Amex before, but what did he win? The Sony Open. Wow. Which I don't remember now if Wale is a Pete Dye. I don't think so, but neither here or there. He's won a ton on Pete Dye. He does do well here. And for 7,600, I think that's pretty good value. So give me some Siwoo, but it could be just a blow up disaster. That's just what happens with Siwoo. Tiger Woods, don't worry about that. He is not, well, he already missed the he missed the timeline to confirm that he was going to be in the event, and there's been no statement on it, so he is not playing. Keegan Bradley, you see his great history. Been pretty decent, recent form, and no reason not to play Keegan. Again, I just got to make some decisions, and I'm going to stick, again, just the putter makes me a bit nervous, but again, he showed that he can putt here, so yeah, will I sprinkle him? Yep, but he's not going to make my core player pool. Ricky Fowler, same thing, past champion, kind of off and on over recent, but the game has really gotten a lot better. The putter's gotten a lot better, but I don't know. Again, I don't know. I just can't do it right now. That's all I can say. I would almost rather play Seamus Power, even though you can see the model doesn't like him. But what I know about Seamus's game, he's made T33 at 235. His game kind of sets up for this course. I mean, again, he hits not very long, but usually very accurate. But what makes me nervous is the irons have been very bad, and even here saying that, he's not gaining fairways, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Typically, that guy off the tee hit a lot of fairways. I believe he won the Bermuda, right? Let's go see this. Yeah. So again, Bermuda. The Barbasol is played. What's that? Truckee. California's bent. So no. Anyways, I will sprinkle Seamus Power. He's not making my main pool. Brian Harman, a guy again has got, look at his track record here. From a historical perspective, of course, history. But again, everything else is not really telling me to play him from what he's doing with the recent form. Also, a couple missed cuts. Well, actually, 3 out of his last 5 tournaments missed cuts. So no, I'm going to go to a guy that I know is just ridiculously good with irons and hits a lot of fairways. But again, struggles with the putter, even though it shows here over the last 24 hours, he has been gaining. And you can also see this course kind of suits him. I mean, a lot of top 30s, top 20s. So I'm going to go with Tom Hoagie at that price range over Brian Harman. Seamus, Ricky. That's the guy that I'll plug in. And then Corey Connors, again, I always state this when I think of, I just think of fairways, greens. His irons have gotten back. Of course, I probably got a little giddy of what I saw at the Arnold Palmer and that he was making putts, but he's also done well at this track. So he's got his one win at the Valero on Bermuda. So I'm all over Corey Connors. Keith Mitchell, I have no issues of playing. Again, it just came down. I can't pick everybody, right? But, 3 out of 4, he's made the cut here. The guy's playing some of the best golf I've seen in a while. The putter can, typically and historically, but it seems like he's making putts too. So no problem. I actually like Noren too. You'll see here. I mean, he's got a 10th, a 17th, a 26th, a couple of missed cuts, but the guy's game again makes sense. He typically hits a fade, hits fairways, and it's the irons, and that's been a bit off for him. But yeah, I'd have no problem. I might sprinkle a Noren in. Minwoo Lee, I kind of went down that path, checked it out. I'm going to kind of wait. Haven't seen enough yet from Minwoo Lee. Again, I liked him on where you need to have some distance off the tee, but I haven't seen enough on the other things. Taylor Montgomery, again, it's been a little bit of a struggle bus, and a lot like Matt McNeely. I mean, literally, if you put those two guys against the stroke gain data and what they were accomplishing before was almost all with the putter. And, even though he does gain a lot of distance, as you see, he doesn't hit a lot of fairways, but does have length. Let's go take a look at that. Yeah, I mean, he averages 315. And this is what I was kind of talking back. He was gaining a lot, not with the irons, but with a lot with the putter. And the putter's kind of slowed down a little bit. I mean, still gaining, but yeah, I got to, wait. Also, Taylor Montgomery has never played here, so he's got no history with the course. And he lives in Vegas, also gets in that game with Morikawa and Xander and Kurt Kitayama. That's kind of that foursome. Russ Henley, I mean, there's a lot of reasons you could say you should not be playing Russ. His irons haven't been firing where typically, but the guy's been hitting all the fairways. He's really good from that 125. The putter used to be pretty elite on Bermuda, and it can happen. It could spike. Right, he almost won the Sony Open the previous year at Wailea. Had an okay showing this year. He also won at, Mayakoba, which I believe is past Palm. But I think they're pretty comparable. He had a T13 here last year. A few miscuts in a T17. I don't know. His game, what I know of Russ Henley's game actually makes a lot of sense here. And, of course, he's my guy on brand, so I got to play him. All right, we're going to fly through some of these because we're taking a little bit longer than I was expecting. So, Denny McCarthy, no thank you. Daniel Berger's not in the field. Matty Kuchar, you can make an argument for. I'll show you, a couple of miscuts last, but I mean, again, his game kind of makes sense. Pendrith, I don't need distance. Aaron Wise, you've been a disaster. Andrew Putnam's actually kind of interesting to me, even though he's never made a cut here, but his game kind of makes sense that should do well here. So I might sprinkle him. Substraka actually has had a T9 and a miscut, but if you go look at Substraka's kind of comped out courses, already won Arnold Palmer, previous year. He's also done one at a lot of the comparable courses like RSM, RBC Heritage. So I will play a little bit of him. He won't make, a ton of the lineups, but I think it's not a bad play. KH Lee, he's made the cut twice, but I don't know, not for me. So Thomas Detry, as you can see, doesn't look too bad. Does gain on Bermuda, almost a stroke over the last 16 rounds. That's all we have recorded for him. And he is also a first time at Players TPC Sawgrass, but has been playing pretty decent golf. He did have the WD at the Honda. I guess he had some stomach issues, if I recall. But anyways, not a bad play at 7,100. Lucas Herbert typically does putt well on Bermuda. It's kind of his strength, but as you see, he's played here once at a T68, and I do not trust him off the tee, and the iron's been pretty suspicious. Wyndham Clark's been playing good golf, no issues there. You can see not the greatest history, with a couple cuts in a DQ, but has been playing solid. You can see approach ball striking around the green, maybe a little bit of issues with the fairways and the proximities. The guy that I'm going to fall to as we get down to the kind of the cheapies, I'm going to go back to Adam Hadwin. I think I picked him for the Arnold Palmer, and he kind of disappointed. But you can see, at least over the last 5 years, he's made 4 out of the 5 last cuts with a T9 last year. And everything kind of fits. I mean, good short game, good on approach, fairways gained. And, he does gain a little bit on Bermuda. So I'm good there. And then I'm going to kind of run through the rest of these cheapies. I mean, Alex Smalley, you can kind of see the stats. Also a first-timer. And not too bad, just a little, maybe a little bit on the fairways and approximately for 125 to 175 or 125 to 150. Also, I guess if you're jumping on the Wyndham comp, Alex Smalley, of course, has played pretty decent there. Let me go check. I believe that's his home course. Yeah, so he's at a 13th there. Let me look at it one more different way. Yeah, 13th and a 29th. Okay, Ben Griffin, I have interest in. I think he'd be pretty well. I did not put him in my player pool, but I will play him a little bit. The only issue would be the fairways gained. Cam Davis has just been, as you see, a fiasco. Miscuts in history and miscut the last at least 5 tournaments in a row. JT Poston actually was, I was looking at, I'm going to sprinkle him in. I think his game could do it here. I mean, he's had 2 T22s, a miscut last year. Not sure where he fell in the draw, but let me go take a quick look. So yeah, JT Poston did have the PM draw, the hard draw, so could explain a little bit why he did not make the cut. I mean, there could be other reasons, but just so you know, Seabass, no thank you. I mean, he does something very good. I mean, I guess he does hit fairways. The irons are bad, and I think you just have to be very accurate with the irons. So I'm off on that. I think Harris English is rounding back to form, but you can see even, well, I don't know if he was in that great of form in 2019. I think more around 2020 is when his game kind of came to light, but you can kind of see a T12, a miscut, a T12. I don't know. That's a little risky. Maybe a play here or there. JJ Spawn, funny enough, I don't know why, but when I think of JJ Spawn, let's go click on him. He's got his win also at the Valero. Typically very accurate, and what I've seen is he had his best putting outings on Bermuda. So Poa was his best, but there's Bermuda at the Shriners, Sanderson Farms, Waste Management. I'm a little curious why his Valero win is not showing up. There it is. I don't understand why that didn't. But he gained 3 strokes on Bermuda there. Let me do this. Okay, there we go. Maybe I clicked the wrong button. So RSM. Oh, I know why, because I clicked on the putting stat where he had. Anyways, I don't think it's a terrible play, but I'm gonna go with Nick Taylor. Of course, we saw him have a shot to win at the Waste Management, and his game kind of fits. Also, he's played here a bit. Last time would have been 2021 with 4 out of 5 made cuts. And let's go take a look at Nick Taylor real quick. Of course, winner at Pebble Beach. Way back when he had a win at Sanderson Farms. That's on Bermuda. There's that Waste Management where he went kind of nutty with the putter. Sony Open, that's Bermuda. The Wyndham, that's Bermuda. The Fortinet, I believe, is POA. Yep. Anyways, so that will be one of the cheapies I'll be interested in. Gary Woodland, can't do it. I think I actually went with him at Arnold Palmer, and he kind of hurt me there. Will Gordon, he didn't make the cut, but I think he ended up almost dead last. He had a rough Saturday, Sunday, and I just think, like I said, I like him on bigger boy courses that he can't get in a lot of trouble, and don't need such a good short game. Buckley, no. Nick Hardy, same thing. I kind of like him on a bigger boy course. And I'm not saying it's a par 72, 7,200 yards, but it is not about having to have great distance and long, strong irons. It's more about accuracy with the irons. Of course, Kitayama, I just have him highlighted here. He's actually not making my player pool, but I will sprinkle him in. But of course, we know what he just did. And he does gain a little on Bermuda. What really kind of has me interested how well he putted. So if we go look at Kurt Kitayama, if you did not see this, as we saw, 2 balls out of bounds can be an issue, but he does typically gain on Bermuda. What data we have? Yeah, but he gained 5.6 on those Bermuda greens. Let's see where he's had his best outings. So a Honda 5.5, the Mexico Open, which I believe was either past Palm or past Palm. Which I think is very similar. That's my own thoughts. The CJ Cup, that was Bermuda. So that's, it's funny enough, he's had we'll call it 1, 2, 3, 8 times he's actually really gained putting. So he's made 25 cuts, so 50 tournaments so far. All right, I'm going to kind of move through the rest of these. Brendan Todd, typically this would kind of make sense. Could be a flyer. I mean, the guy typically hits fairways, okay with the irons, and typically is a pretty good putter. Matty Wallace showed up on the Honda, but killed me. I think it was on the Sunday. Had a tip around. I'm gonna go to Matt Damon. I'm gonna go to Joel Damon. I think he's actually had 3 starts here: a T12, a T33, and a miscut in 2021. It's all about if his putter goes. Everything else, this should fit him. And he's also, again, got some history. I'm not going to get sucked into the Webb Simpson good outing on Sunday to move himself up. I don't know. I got to see more from Webb. I mean, of course, he's had a win here. I showed you in the preview show a lot of, he's done very well at this track, but I can't do it. Emilio Grillo kind of interests me a little just because he is typically very accurate off the tee, usually very good with the irons, but man, his short game is just horrendous. So that's something I got to think about. Kisner, no, just on all fronts, no, thank you. Patrick Rogers, you guys know I took my shot. I believe it was Pebble Beach on the POA. And if you can't do it in California on POA, where he typically gains, I guess he's also maybe had some good outings on past Palm. Well, it looks like he's got 4 rounds, so 1 tournament. Actually, I'm going to go to Johnny Vegas. Funny enough, if we look at Johnny Vegas, and I always go back to, I think I mentioned, I don't know what year that was when he had that super long putt on 17. But let's go look at the players. He's gained on these greens, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 9 times, which we all know, well, maybe we don't all know, but he's not a very good putter. But something about these greens, of course, his weapon is off the tee. Irons have kind of been here or there. I don't know. I'm going to take a flyer. He's been playing really good golf. Let's go look at that real quick. He's made, I don't know, 6 out of 8 cuts. And he's gained, let's see, just at the Honda, he gained on Bermuda. And he's been firing. I mean, his ball striking's been great. It's just, what happens with the putter. Typically, he gains with the putter here. I also think it's a pretty good bet, even like maybe a top 10, top 20, something to think about. No, thank you, Hodges. No, on Palmer. Garrick Hago. I'm a little worried about that fairways game, but if there wasn't so much trouble, I'd play him. Benoit Ann, no. S.H. Kim, Ryan Fox. Funny enough, my own theory, of course, we got Doug Gim, who typically does very well here. I think David Lipsky is going to be the Doug Gim of this weekend. And he's never played here before, but I mean, everything says he should do well here. Of course, you can see, he's had, I don't know, a rough go of it, but I think it's all due to the putter, pretty much. I mean, if you see, he's lost somewhere around 3 strokes every time. But he had a good showing at the Sony Open. I mean, he had a nice run here all in Bermuda, and then it kind of fell apart a little bit in the start of the year, but, a little bit of signs coming back. I don't know. He was a star right on the Corn Ferry. Kind of just been waiting for that to translate over. And I don't know, just this is a pure gut feeling that Lipsky could do something here. And now we're just, like I said, these aren't all the guys I'm going to play, but it's just guys I think are interesting. Ricky Bobby Shelton, another guy who's never played here before, but he's, made the cut. How many tournaments now has it been? So 5 tournaments in a row. Nice showing at the RSM at a 10th, which I think is a decent comp. So I will probably be playing some Ricky Bobby. Aaron Ryan mentioned again. He's a Ponte Vedra local. I would guess would belong to TPC Sawgrass and plays quite a bit here. And he does as you see, he's never played in a tournament here, but he is local. Svensson, again, another Florida guy. But what Aaron Ryan does, he hits, fairways up the wazoo. It's typically his putter, as you see, that can cause the issues. Everything else is solid. Same with Svensson. So I think these 2 guys are probably the guys that I'll plug in the most in that 6,000 range. And I was just seeing if there's anybody else. Brandon Wu, I put a bet on. Tyler Duncan, I put a bet on. I mean, these are just, shots, pretty much wasted money. Sam Ryder, also, I'm interested in. A lot of it is just the form. He's played here 3 times. He only made the cut once. But, man, his form with the irons that I'm looking at, he typically hits fairways. Let's go take a look at this. This is a little misleading. because I know he's had a pretty good run. I mean, again, he doesn't gain distance, but typically he will hit fairways in regulation. The irons have been hot, and the putter's been, really working. So I'm going to take a shot at him at 6,300. And then I think the last guy I have to talk about again is that Nico Cheviara, Chevaria. And, you can see not good from a mile, but he just had a win. Also lives in Pontevedra. Again, has to do a lot of practicing here. From everything I heard, his whole goal was to make the players. So I think that's kind of interesting. And that, I think, is as far as my player analysis is going to go for you. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of who you might want to play. And with that said, let's go jump back, wrap this up for you, and get you guys out of here. Okay, so my top Fab 5 players that I'm going to be going with to lead off, again, from a GPP DFS perspective. Scotty Scheffler, amazing form. I don't think I need to sell you on him. I think you just have to make your picks. Do you want to play Rory, Xander? I mean, you could put two of these guys at the top. I think there's enough value at the bottom. And of course, we've seen over and over at this event that somebody in the 6,000 range is probably going to end up in the top 5, if not win it. But I would say more probably end up in the top 5. Also got JT, past winner. If the putter goes, and kind of what I noticed, except for really Scheffler and Homa, my top 5 guys, it's all about what happens with the putter. But of course, elite with the irons, awesome from that like 100 to 150 range. And then, the next guy, I mean, I feel like these guys' games are pretty similar. I mean, Thomas hits it a little further off the tee, but you need shot making here. I mean, it's kind of interesting. If you look at like the first hole, second hole, if you start to walk through this course, you literally have to hit like a draw off the tee, and then you got to hit a fade into the green, and then you got to hit a fade off the tee, and then a draw. Like, you got to be able to work the ball both ways, and there's very small sections that you're hitting into these greens that you have to land it. So we need really good iron players, and that's why you're seeing these guys right here. And then Homa has actually been leading the field over the last 6 tournaments with the irons, and actually can putt and hits a baby fade, and is also good from a disc. I mean, all these guys got good game. I don't think I need to slay them. And then I'd say, again, out of all these, the one that maybe makes me a little nervous, if I had to take out these 5, I'd say because of the putting woes of Morikawa and Will Z, those two make me the most nervous. But also, if they have a good weekend putting, they could easily win this thing. So that's kind of where I'm looking at. Then my on-deck guys to fill in, coming in too, of course, Victor Hovland. I just actually heard he was talking in like a kind of an impromptu presser that he actually switched coaches, and I think this happened over the last, I don't know, month or so, and is finally gotten back. He was actually having a two-way miss, he admitted, on, at least definitely off the tee, and so now he's kind of gotten with a new swing instructor and has kind of figured out what was going on and doesn't have the issues with that, so that's key. He's hitting fairways. He's always been elite with the irons. It's, short game, and if he can make some putts, watch out. Actually, Hatton, I kind of feel like it's just a solid play. He hits a lot of fairways, good with the irons. Hopefully the attitude stays positive and he makes some putts. And then Shane Lowry looking for a rebound from Arnold Palmer, which he never does well there anyways. I think he's shown he can play this course and has kind of the mindset, hits that also kind of a baby cut fade. And also, if somehow it does, the weather shows, I always like Lowry and a bit of wind. Jason Day, just been playing amazing. Of course, also a past champion here and has a great record. Even in his kind of down days, he still has shown up well here. And so he makes a few more putts. Watch out, Jason Day could get his win. And then Tom Kim, right? I mean, he is a rookie to this course. I was actually watching some coverage where they were shooting on 17, and he learned real quick that you can't go too far in the back of that green because he bounced one right in the water. But I mean, his game, his fairways, good with the irons. It's a little bit on the Morikawa side. What is that putter going to do? We've seen it where it's just super hot or super not. All right, then my unsung guys, getting more into like the mid 7,000 range. Chris Kirk, we just saw the win at the Honda, and his game is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for guys that have super distance. I'm looking for guys that are very accurate off the tee, good with the irons, good short game, good putter. He's got all those elements and does well in Florida and Bermuda. Tommy Fleetwood, has an impeccable record here. Had a chance to win the year Rory did, and I think it was on 17. He went at the flag, and it hit off the bulkhead and went in, and he could have had a chance to catch Rory. So, typically where I've always seen where he's going to have his chance to get a win, on in North America on the PGA Tour is going to be in Florida. Maybe that could happen. Also known as Fairway Jesus. Then you got Siwoo Kim, of course, Pete Dye specialist. I talked about this earlier. I don't think I need to explain anymore. This is either he could top 10 or he could, shoot 12 over and be out of this thing. And then Corey Connors kind of, more on a lot of the line of, hits it 280, 290 off the tee, but he's always hitting fairways. An amazing iron player, has done well. We just saw it there on Palmer. He won at Valero. His best putting splits are on Bermuda, so hopefully that happens. And then Hoagie, kind of same thing. I mean, I've just got I'm going with like all the best iron players, but sometimes the putter works, sometimes it doesn't. So Hoagie fits right into that camp. And then last but not least, my cheapies. This is like guys that are like 7,300 down into the, I think 6,300. Typically, I only try to pick guys under 7,000, but we have a lot of value on the board here. So I'm taking the guys that have the pedigree here, or that I know that their game is, well, hopefully both in good recent form. Of course, Russ Henley, this is a little bit of a shot. Now, Russ had a 13th here last year, T13. I think he also had a good wave. I think he had the AM wave, but Russ hits fairways. He at times can be one of the best iron players I've ever seen, and has had great runs on Bermuda greens. But he's also just been brutal, and lately it's been more of the latter, that the irons have been a little off, the putter. So this is all hoping that his form that I know can happen. I mean, he just won at Mayakoba, had a good showing at the Sony, and then it just kind of, this course fits him. Could have won the Sony the year before. Adam Hadwin missed the cut at Arnold Palmer, but again, I think his game aligns to this kind of course. So for the price tag, I like these two guys at the low sevens. You got Nick Taylor, of course, that just showed up, had a chance to win at Waste Management, and has won at Pebble Beach. And I think he had another one, what did I say, Sanderson Farms, I think it was, or something like that. But I mean, solid all around. I like that for the price tag. He also has played here a bit. Adam Svensson, he's a rookie to TPC Sawgrass, but had a win at RSM just recently. That's Bermuda. I think tons of water. This should fit him. Also, he is a Florida local, as I mentioned, Palm Beach, so very comfortable in Bermuda. So I'm all over some Svensson. And last but not least, a lot of this Sam Ryder stuff is everything I've been seeing. I mean, the guy has been playing really good golf, and for the price tag, I think it was 6,300. It's going to give me some opportunities to make some different builds. So that is my cheapies, and that is my picks for the players. So thank you for spending time. Hopefully that gives you some ideas. And as always, click that like button, share this with anybody else. And if you've not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because I need you to tell me who's going to win this players, because you can see I'm not sure if I know who, but I like the picks. That's the way that I'll be going for again, from a GAPP DFS play. But yeah, tell me who you think is going to win the players. Give me the names and who you think, and I'll get it in, and I'll announce the winner tomorrow. All right, guys, all the best. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.